Yo, what's happening, guys? We're going to be going into another episode of Frequently Asked Questions with JP. But before we get into that, or what we're going to go over in this video, is how can I tell if my subwoofer or my speaker is damaged from clipping or distorting it? But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also enable notifications so you know every time that we go live on here. Hit that little bell so you know every time that we go live posting another video, and you can come on here and learn something or just watch some cool demo videos. Anyway, so getting into this video, we're going to be addressing, we did the clipping video, and that made people wonder, have they damaged their speakers from clipping, or how would we know if we have? So usually you can clip a speaker or a subwoofer for a little bit and it'll be okay, depending on how much power you're running on it. But if you're running a ton of power on it, the amount of time that you can clip it for, obviously, or distort it for before it's damaged or fails is a lot shorter than if you are running a lower amount of power. Well, the first thing that you can tell is, or you can smell it, because you're heating the voice coil up in there. So what you have here, this is obviously a small speaker, but they all work relatively the same. You have your voice coil that fits in that circle right there. That's called the gap. So your voice coil is going to be going in and out of that gap right there. And if your voice coil starts heating up, it's okay if it heats up a little bit, but if it starts heating up even more, it's going to start expanding. And once it starts expanding, it's going to start rubbing on the outside of the gap right here on this side, or both sides. What you're going to get, you'll start hearing a scratching noise. If it swells up too much, it'll start rubbing on the outsides of the gap right here, and then you'll have that scratching noise. If you've ever pushed on a speaker and felt, sometimes you can feel it and hear it, but if you push on the cone up and down, you'll hear like a scratching noise. So that lets you know you have, and it may still work, but that lets you know that you have pushed it a little bit too far. You've damaged your speaker. All right, so like I was talking about, your voice coil right here is going to be moving in and out of the gap right here. So when this is moving in and out of there and it starts swelling up and it gets too big, it'll start scraping on here. So once it starts scraping on there, it can create a short, it can create all kinds of problems. So that's what's happening when this is growing too big to fit inside of that gap. That's the issue you want to have. You can see how this fits perfectly in that gap, and when it's centered, the magnetic field will actually hold it right there. But if you push on it, obviously it'll fall all the way down. But when it's perfectly centered, it's not rubbing on anything. It's just hovering in between that gap right there. It's going to be right between that gap perfectly. But once it starts swelling, it's going to start, you'll hear that scratching noise like that. So anyway, there's a bunch of other things that can happen. You can melt the tensile leads. You can melt the glue off of the triple joint. Triple joint is in here where the cone and the spiders and the voice coil all connect together in there. There's a bunch of different things that can happen, but the most common thing that happens is your voice coil swells and it starts scraping on in the gap right there, and that's what is going to lead it to fail the fastest. So that's what you do to your speaker, and that's what happens after you heat it up too much. So if you have any other questions, I hope this has helped you in knowing how a speaker works really quickly, and also what happens if you clip or distort your speaker for too long. If you have any other questions, post them in the comments below, and if we think it's a good question or a lot of people put a thumbs up on it, we'll try to address it in one of these series on the Frequently Asked Questions with JP. We'll see you in the next one. Hey, what's up, guys? If you want to see more of the hot content that you just saw in that video, be sure to follow me on all my social media channels, from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The Life of Price is my handle on there. Also have Down for Sound Shop on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget Snapchat is JPD4S. Check out all the hot content on there as well.